So happy holidays, everybody. My daughter and her husband are home for the holidays, and tonight we're going to my sister's house for my family's holiday get together. So when this happens, my sister and I always get together. We talk about the menu and who is responsible for bringing what. So I'm responsible for 4 different things. So we're all in the kitchen together today, and Tebow's gonna show you how to make bacon wrapped green bean bundles. Kendall is making an almond cake with a chocolate ganache. I'm making broccoli casserole and individual sized cheesecakes in 2 different flavors. So we're gonna share with you some of our family favorites, all the recipes and the how-tos. So if you wanna make them for your family holiday, you sure can. So I'm gonna turn this video over to my daughter Kendall, and she's gonna show you how to make almond cake with a chocolate glaze. So this is actually my son-in-law Tebow's mother's recipe, and Kendall's gonna recreate the recipe while she's here with us.
Hey everyone, so the recipe will be in the description box for these almond chocolate bars, so definitely check that out. But you want to start by greasing or buttering your cake pan, tart pan, whatever pan you decide to make these in. We like this one because the sides are thin, so we can cut them into bars because it's quite a rich, dense cake, so we find that bars are the perfect size for serving them. Definitely make sure to get into all the grooves and corners and cracks of whatever pan that you choose to use for this, because it can stick quite easily. So you can see Lola in the background. She was really wanting a lick of butter. Now you want to flour that greased tart pan just to, help mitigate any sticking that might happen. As you can see, I'm making quite a mess in this part. And now you want to add 1 tube of almond paste, or 8 ounces of almond paste, to a food processor. My mom didn't have a food processor, so we're using a Ninja blender for this, and it worked totally fine, so you can use a blender as well. So add 1 tube of almond paste and half a cup of sugar. We used white sugar for this. Next, you want to add 1 stick, or half a cup, of room temp butter. I pre-cut this butter into cubes just, to get it into the food processor more easily. And now you want to blend up the mixture, adding 1 egg at a time. So you'll have 3 eggs total in the end. So here I am, just adding in the 3 eggs, 1 at a time, blending until smooth, but being careful not to overblend. And now you want to sift in, sifting is really important, you want to sift in half of a cup of cake flour. And then after I sift in the flour here, I chose to hand mix the batter just to not overwork it, so it keeps it really light and fluffy. Now you pour in the final mixed batter into your greased and floured tart pan. It looks so good, and it smells even better. It smells like almonds, and it's absolutely delicious. Be sure to smooth down the top with a spatula because it will bubble up quite a bit, which you'll see when we pull it out of the oven. So the smoother the top, the better, especially whenever you go to add the chocolate. So add that into a 350-degree oven for 30 to 35 minutes. Ours was perfect at the 30-minute mark. So we took it out, we let it cool completely. We just left it out on the counter for a few hours. Definitely make sure to test it with a toothpick, and if the toothpick comes out clean, then your cake is done. All right, so here's the final cooled cake, uniced. Looks amazing. So you want to use 60 to 64% chocolate. We chose 60 just so it wasn't super sweet. So break up the chocolate in a double boiler, or if you don't have a double boiler, a pot filled with water with a metal bowl or a glass bowl on top of it will work just the same. So melt your chocolate, add in your room temperature butter, and stir to combine. Very important note here is to add the butter once your chocolate is off the heat. You do not want to overwork this or overheat it. Now just pour on your glaze. And we used a cake knife for the sides to get the sides nice and coated. And I don't know if I mentioned this, you need 4 ounces of chocolate and 8 tablespoons butter. We chose to decorate this with sliced almonds down the middle. I've also done it with whole almonds or gold foil if you want to get fancy. And there's the final cake. We stored it in the fridge until we were leaving the house, just so that it wouldn't get melted because it was slightly warm in our kitchen with all the cooking that we were doing. One thing that could make it more helpful whenever you're slicing this cake is to use a hot knife. Heat up water in the microwave and then dip your knife into that hot water before you slice it. This will help the chocolate not to stick to the knife, and it'll create really clean looking slices. So that's how we served the cake at my aunt's house.
Now it's my turn to get cooking. I'm gonna make individual sized cheesecakes, and y'all, I'm making these specifically for my nephew who loves Oreo. He doesn't like any of the other desserts we're gonna have tonight, so he always requests Oreo cheesecake. And this recipe is super simple. I love that it makes individual cheesecakes, and you can make them just in any flavor that you can imagine. I'm gonna make half Oreo for him and half Reese's. So we're gonna make the crust first. I'm actually making a half a recipe. The entire recipe will be written in the description box, but put 3/4 cup of graham cracker crumbs into a big mixing bowl and 2 tablespoons of sugar. I melted 2 tablespoons of butter in the microwave, and I'm gonna add that butter to the graham cracker crumbs. Oh, and the smell of this, y'all. Just mix it up. You want all of your crumbs to be moist and wet from the butter. Look at this. Look how good this looks. Mix it up really well. Everything needs to be wet. Then in a cupcake tin with paper liners, put about 1 tablespoon of the graham cracker crumbs into each liner and just press it down. This is going to be the crust for each of your cheesecakes. Make sure you compact it down into the corners, all the little crevices along the bottom, because when you pop your cheesecake out of the paper liners, you want your crust to stay intact and not fall apart into a big crumbly mess. This is exactly what it should look like. Then you can put an Oreo or a Reese's peanut butter cup, or really anything that you want. Now, I was in a hurry. I put whole Oreos in them this time. Normally, I chop up the Oreos and the Reese's. In hindsight, this is exactly what I should have done this time too, because the whole Oreos were kind of hard to bite into. So I highly suggest chopping up your goodies before you put them into the individual cheesecakes. Then to make the cheesecake filling, you need 1 8-ounce package of room temperature cream cheese. Beat it really, really well so that it gets light and fluffy and airy, and the key is it must be room temperature. Then add 1/2 cup of sugar and 1/8 of a cup of all-purpose flour, 1/2 of a teaspoon of vanilla, and whip that up again really, really well, and then add... Lola's watching me in the background here. She's wondering if she's going to get a cheesecake. Then add 1 egg to your mixture, and again, beat it really well. It should be smooth and silky and look absolutely delicious. So take your filling and fill up each of the individual cheesecake cups. You can go ahead and fill it all the way to the very tip top, because when you bake the cheesecake, it really doesn't rise. So you can use all of your filling to fill up the cups. And this is what I have. Pro tip, make sure to put a toothpick marking your different flavor of cups. I have made the mistake before and didn't do that and forgot what was what. This is what they look like in the oven. Bake them in a 350-degree oven for 20 minutes. Do not over bake your cheesecakes. Take them out of the oven and let them sit until they are completely cool. And then I like to top my cheesecakes with a little bit of crumbles for whatever the filling is inside. When somebody looks at the cheesecake, I want them to know exactly what they're eating. Now it's T-Bow's turn. These are the green bean bundles that everybody goes crazy about. I've shared them with you all before in previous holiday videos. And when T-Bow happens to be here and we're making green bean bundles, I leave it up to him because his bundles look absolutely perfect. So he's gonna show you how to make them. And these green bean bundles we're actually gonna make and wrap at home, and then again, take on to my sister's and pop them in her oven.
So making green bean bundles, we're gonna start with French style green beans. First, you're going to drain those out into a colander into the sink. Usually we'll start with around 2 cans and then a full container of bacon. Next, we're going to get the tray all set up. So line it with tin foil and then have a grate over the top. Cut your section of bacon in half, and we'll use each of those halves to wrap the green bean bundles up. So usually I'll start with one of those pieces of bacon, I'll stretch it out, and then grab a hefty handful of green beans. I usually like to lay them perpendicular to the bacon, just so it kind of catches everything and each one can kind of hold on to the other. Then tightly roll it up and lay it out right onto the tray. Now in this view you can see grabbing a big hefty handful of green beans, again laying them perpendicular, grabbing that back end, kind of stretching it out and wrapping it over, and then tightly winding it up, just like so. And then for this section, we just decided to wait and fire them once we got to G and Char's house. So we'll put the brown sugar on top of them when we get there.
Now it's time to whip up broccoli casserole. Of course, you have to have something cheesy at every holiday dinner. So this year, broccoli casserole it is for us. I know this is going to use canned soup. Don't judge me, but it's super easy. It's super good. I've been making this recipe forever and ever, and I'm going to actually put it together here and then take it to my sister's and bake it in her oven. Grab a couple heads of broccoli, make sure that it's washed and clean, and then just cut off the florets. I like to steam my broccoli for about 8 or 10 minutes, and while it is steaming, I'm going to make the sauce for the broccoli casserole. It is 1 can of cream of mushroom soup, and then I just eyeball this, y'all. I add about 3/4 cup, maybe a half a cup of milk. I just stir it around, add some salt and pepper, and I want it to be a thick consistency with a little bit of run to it. So I just eyeball the salt and pepper. You could also add a dash of sriracha if you wanted to for a little bit of kick, but look at that consistency. Runny but thick. Then when the broccoli florets are finished steaming, I'm going to spray a casserole dish lightly and put a little bit of that sauce in the bottom just so that the broccoli has some liquid to sit on. Then put all your broccoli florets in an even layer. Try not to have them piled up too high, although, you know, if you do, it's totally fine. Just put your broccoli florets in the casserole dish. Pour about half of your sauce onto the broccoli florets, just so that you have a good even layer. And then I used a half of a block of Velveeta cheese. I chopped it up into little chunks, just spread it around on top of the broccoli so that you have a decent amount of cheese. Put it in the nooks and crannies and crevices and over in the corners, because when people scoop this out of the casserole dish, you want to make sure that every scoop is cheesy. Pour the rest of your sauce on top of the casserole dish, and from there all you have to do is chop it with Ritz crackers, melted butter, and cook, which I'm gonna do at my sister's house. So we're packing everything up because we have about a 15-minute ride over to my sister's, and y'all, I had so much fun in the kitchen with Kendall and Tebow making all of our favorites and things that we love to eat at the holidays. Here we are saying hey, taking our thumbnail picture, then we're in the car with Lola. She gets to go to family holiday dinner this year. It is rainy and yuck, y'all. So my brother-in-law every year deep fries chickens. If you have never had a deep fried chicken, you are missing out. It is so good, and the guys have a ball doing it. Of course, Lola has to check out everything that's going on in the kitchen. My sister is meeting Lola for the first time, and there's Max. Y'all know Max. Max met Lola. They got along great. My niece Briley, my nephew Caden, everybody's here. Brecken Blake, Kendall, Tebow, my dad is here, my sister, my brother-in-law, and it's time to cook the broccoli cheese casserole. I just crumbled up 1 sleeve of Ritz crackers over the top and poured melted butter. Bake it in an oven 350 degrees for about 30 minutes. Just keep an eye on it. When it's as brown and bubbly as you like it, it is done. We topped the green bean bundles with a little bit of brown sugar. You could also add some cracked black pepper on the top if you wanted to. This is what they look like before they go in the oven. And while everything is cooking, we're just hanging out, getting some time with Max and the family, taking photos. Of course, Lola had to get in the photo. Y'all, I wish I could bring Pollux and Maxie. Maxie would do nothing but bark his head off, and Pollux and Max would just run around and probably knock everybody down. So they had to stay home. But look at the chickens. The chickens were so good. You got to get the chickens off and slice them up. We're all hanging around. We were starving. Of course, the guys who were in charge of the chickens ran dinner about an hour behind. They're never on schedule. But we got it done. We're getting everything out, ready to eat. There's my dad. He is the official chicken and turkey cutter when we get together for the holidays. Everybody's got an eye on what is going on because we are so hungry, including Lola. So for dinner that night, we had the green bean bundles wrapped in bacon. Look how crispy and delicious those green beans are. Everybody just pops these in their mouth. It's like having candy. Then broccoli cheese casserole. See, it's brown and gooey and bubbly and the edges are crispy. Love this casserole. My sister made a sweet potato casserole, which is one of my dad's favorite things, topped with pecans. My sister also made dressing, and Randy made the mashed potatoes. And then there's the chicken. So y'all, I gotta go. It's time to eat.